Good morning. Good morning. It is so nice to see all of you here today. My name is Reverend Krista Taves. I'm the Minister of Congregational Life here at Eliot Chapel. Welcome to all of you. This is such a special Sunday. For those of you joining us here on site, we're so glad we can be in our chapel again. And if you're joining us online, you can now worship in real time with us because we are now also live streaming. And we hope that this supports a greater feeling of connectedness so that wherever we are, we can experience being fully present during this most sacred hour of our week. This is also the first Sunday that we are worshiping in our sanctuary since Reverend Gaydon announced her retirement last January. It is indeed good for us to be together, to breathe in the life of this beloved community. Eliot Unitarian Chapel is a free religious congregation built by those who are committed to living our mission, which is that we are bound in courageous love, growing in spirit, and inspiring compassionate action. We are a diverse community that strives to welcome all in the fullness of your age, gender, class, race, sexual orientation, religious background, and spiritual convictions. If you're visiting for the first time, a very, very special welcome to you. I hope that your time with us is meaningful and spirit-filled, and you are warmly welcome to join us after the service for coffee hour, which is on-site, or online at our online coffee hour on Zoom at noon. If you're on site, you should have received a guest card on your way in. Please fill it out and drop it into the Offertory basket so we can help you get connected. And if you're joining us online, let us know you're here at welcome@eliotchapel.org. And there's also an online guest book on the front page of our website that you can fill out so that we can help you connect as well to this congregation. We're so glad you're here.
Got to wear my mask-appropriate earrings. Welcome home. Welcome home, everyone. Welcome home to worship. Worship is a place that is scored with memory and shot through with hope. Worship is a place for brokenness and healing. Worship is a place of singing lips and dancing hearts and soaring spirits. Worship is for children who cannot sit still. Worship is for people who limp and whose hands shake and who ask people to repeat what they have just said. Worship calls forth quiet reflection. It offers its gentle lap for grief. Worship is for joy and loud laughter. Worship is for sitting in faith with the hard things of the world. Worship is a place where we believe love is still here and justice is still possible. Worship is where we sing and we hear and we watch and we touch love. Come, let us worship. We now light our chalice, which is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, our improvised chalice. Thank you. And we light this chalice in celebration of our community and hope for our world. And if you would, sing with me our opening hymn, number 1000. Words are in the back of your order of service. Morning has come. Please rise as you're willing and able.
Good morning, Eliot. Good morning. It's great to see everyone, and welcome also to those of you joining us online. My name is Francis Beecher, and I'm a member. My wife and I have been members for the past 3 years and have had the privilege of joining in the community and attending some events like the Black Lives Matter Vigil, volunteering at the polls with Eliot and others. And it's just great in the spring to see everybody back here. So here at our first in-person service of 2022, for those of you here and online, I would like to lead us in our congregational covenant, the promise that we make to each other, and we'll read it together. Eliot's Unitarian Chapel Congregational Covenant. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be, to listen fully to each other with an open mind and heart, to speak responsibly and respectfully, to find ways to improve our church for all members and friends. Thank you.
We still get a story. This is a story called The Magical Yet. Yeah. There are days when your dreams don't come true, or you're upset by the things that you cannot do. If you've lost or failed or cried just a bit, you're tired of waiting and ready to quit. Like that shiny new bike that you couldn't ride. And it didn't matter how hard you tried. You couldn't pedal, and you couldn't steer, and you couldn't get that bike into gear. Then, when you thought you were on the right track, you popped a wheelie and fell on your back. And now, you won't ride. Nope, no way, never. No riding for you. You will walk, thank you, forever. Don't give up now. Don't give up now. There's a major game changer, a most amazing thought rearranger. Someone to show you how good you can get. Now introducing the magical yet. With this yet's magic, you can begin to see that you're going beyond where you've been. There's so many things that you've learned to do when you didn't know that the yet was with you. Like when you babbled before you could talk, or how you crawled before you could walk. Yet is a dreamer, a schemer, a hoper, a trier, a maker, a doer, a gotta fly higher. This yet finds a way, even when you don't, and yet knows you will, when you think you won't. Like that shiny new bike that you couldn't ride, hop right back on with the yet by your side. Yet doesn't mind warm-ups, fixes and flops, do-overs, redos, and stumbles and stops. Yet knows that there's mistakes, some big and some small. But with yet, you're sure to get over them all. Play the kazoo or play the bassoon. Jam with the yet, and you'll soon be in tune. Try skateboarding tricks, maybe. Like the ollie heel flip. This yet can get you to the championship. Tongue twisters twisted your tongue in a knot, yet says, keep trying and practice a lot. Be patient. You cannot do it all, or yet can't do it all overnight. Some things take days, months, or years to get right. But if you keep leaping, dreaming, wishing, waiting, learning, trying, missing, with this yet as your guide along the way, you'll do all the things that you cannot do today. Now you're bolder, braver, starting to see that with yet, you can get where you want to be. You finally did it. You knew you could. Yet knew you could. You're not just riding, you're getting quite good. But don't stop now. You've got so much to do. And the good news is, this yet grows with you. So no matter how big or how old you may get, you'll never outgrow, you'll never forget. You can always believe in the magic of yet. So may it be.
All right, well, good morning, Eliot. And thinking about that message of yet to all of us, I'm here to talk about the ever popular but important topic of stewardship. So, again, Francis Beecher, and I'm here representing our stewardship committee, which is working on this year's pledge campaign. And I'll just be one of a series of speakers speaking about it over the next few weeks. And I just wanted to start by maybe introducing myself a little bit and what brought me to this community. So my wife and I moved down from Iowa 5 years ago, and we knew we wanted to find a spiritual home in the city, right? We didn't know anybody, and whatever that community was, we wanted it to have that unique spirit of Unitarian Universalism. We knew we wanted it to have a strong and welcoming community that we could become a part of. And we knew we wanted that community to be engaged in action and thought and coming together and sharing. And that's what we were looking for. And each of those things, that sense of community, that sense of purpose and spirit, that sense of mission and action, we found that in Eliot. And we love the community here and have now been members for the past 3 years. And that sense of community that Eliot has given us was really important for both my wife and I over the past 2 years. Time of massive change, right? We don't know what's happening. Everything around us is shifting. Our community itself changed, right? We stopped having in-person services. We had to go to online service. We did outdoor services behind a sanctuary here. We tried all sorts of things. Outside of just service, many of the groups went online or tried other formats. And through all of that, what really was so important to me was the community continued, right? We found new ways, and we kept that community moving. We may not be meeting in person, maybe we were meeting online, but the community was still there, and that was a real anchor for us. And that sense, that community, all of us coming together, that's at the heart of this year's stewardship campaign. So some of you have seen our materials already. Mosaic is the theme this year. Little squares is the logo we've chosen. And just like a piece of stained glass or a mosaic is made up of many elements all together to make a beautiful whole, our community is deepened and enriched by each of you being a part of the mosaic of Eliot. And that's the theme. And I think that's so important because things are changing again, right? Things continue to change around us. This is our first in-person service. We've got attendees joining us online as well. What does our community look like next week, 6 weeks from now, next year? We are all going to be figuring this out together as a community, and that's going to take all of us. And so with this pledge campaign this year, our goal is 100% participation. We are asking everybody to engage. And I don't want anybody to hear that and feel concerned, because the ask is not, dig deep and do everything you can. That is part of the ask. But the core is that we want you to be engaged. And whatever is meaningful for you to pledge, that amount, that's meaningful for us too, because the goal is that whole community, 100% coming together as we, as a group, define what is the next normal for Eliot, what is the next path for us, and build it together over the next year. So if you've already pledged, thank you. If you have not yet, please consider it and help us reach that goal of 100%. I know many of you have pledged, and the names are written on the mosaic poster that you'll see as you exit the sanctuary here. In addition, as the campaign continues, this is a great time to not only think about pledging, but also think about those other activities that we can do. So this is a great time to bring a friend. If you've got someone you think might be interested, bring them to service. If this is a great time to join a group, maybe one you've thought about joining for years, or a new program like Wellspring that you think might be interested, please join those. And it's a great time to get engaged with the community in new ways. We've started a new program, Eliot Exchange. You can learn more information after the service to help our members connect with one another and share goods and services and other things. And so welcome back. It's great to have you in the community. Please participate in this year's stewardship campaign and our pledge. And again, welcome back to Eliot. Thank you.
I invite you to join with me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, God of grace and mercy, source of all things that changes us as we cannot change ourselves. As the ground warms and sprigs of green finally push through the waiting soil, we have gathered here. We have gathered together from many places of the heart. We may come from a place of gratitude for the lengthening days. We come from a place of thankfulness to be in a community where we are known and understood, accepted as we are. We come from a place of deep concern for the well-being of those plagued by war and oppression. We come from a place of weariness for all that we carry. We come from a place of love for this beautiful and hurting world, and with the hope that perhaps this pandemic is lessening its grip. On this day, let us hold up the many interwoven communities that we belong to, that give our lives shape, meaning, and purpose. Our families, our neighbors, our circles of relationships. Let us hold up and treasure the commitments that we have made to our many communities, and especially this beloved community, with so many relationships that hold us together, with traditions and hopes and dreams and generosity that have sustained us and embraced us. Some of us know every inch of this place and our people. Some of us are just beginning our journey into this living tradition. We need all of us to be this beloved community, to grow and be restored. Our growing faith in each other is what draws us into these circles of trust and love, which is our foundation. May this be a time to renew our covenantal promises, to breathe new life into our core values of justice, equity, and compassion, to re-infuse this community with all that it needs to serve our mission of loving courageously and inspiring compassionate action. May we live this mission in this community, beyond this community, and deep in our hearts, minds, and spirits. Let us enter into a time of silence for the prayers of our hearts. In the spirit of the love that knows no limits, amen, and blessed be. One of the ways we live our mission of courageous love is by being generous with the community around us. Every week, we give away half of our offering to an organization that is living our values of justice, equity, and compassion. One of our values is a deep commitment to the well-being of the earth. We affirm and promote the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. This month, we're sharing our offertory with the Missouri Coalition for the Environment, which has worked to protect our air, water, and earth for the last 50 years. The coalition connects with farmers to support sustainable agricultural practices. It engages in legislative advocacy and community gardening. It is protecting our waterways, floodplains, and so much more. There are few places in our state that have not been touched by this coalition. If you're joining us online, you can contribute to the offering by texting Eliot shared plate in one word with the amount you want to give to 73256. You can also mail a check with shared plate in the memo line, or go to our website and donate there. Let us be a generous people. Please join me in blessing the offertory with the words printed in your order of service. To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings.
Our reading is one of my old favorites, and I thought it would be good to hear it in a new time. We Need One Another by George Odell. We need one another when we mourn and want comfort. We need one another when we are in trouble and are afraid. We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again. We need one another when we strive to accomplish some great purpose and realize we cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success when we look for someone to share our triumphs. We need one another in the hour of defeat when, with encouragement, we can endure and rise again. We need one another when we come to die and seek gentle hands to prepare us for the journey. All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us. So ends the reading. I have missed that sound. Here we are in what I like to call the Quaker Cathedral. Quaker for its smooth, simple, cream white walls, and cathedral for its soaring vaulted ceiling. If you are joining us on live stream, I hope that throughout this service, you can still feel this place with its sounds of singing and laughter, that you can still see our quilts and our weavings and our pulpit and our piano and our gale and our bay window and everything. We need these cues. We need cues that are visual, auditory, tactile, to remember that we are human among humans, and we've been without them, or we've had to come up with experiencing them in a new way. If you are here, go ahead, touch the upholstery of the chair that you're sitting on, that rough fuzzy acrylic fabric. Pretty sensual right now, isn't it? We need these cues to our body. They don't have to be big. A small cough, a slight nod, someone shifting in a chair to help us to feel met and matched and among the human race, that we are not alone. And although we've found new cues, we've been missing these particular ones, and not being here for the better part of 2 years has been an enormous sacrifice for a lot of us. I don't have to tell you. And this week, we reached the 2-year anniversary of the first shutdown, the death of the old normal in the United States, anyway. And I was thinking back to that time. I was thinking about the first few months, and we were starting to learn these new words like shelter in place and don't panic and things like that. And this was when it wasn't really clear what the things were that you needed to do to keep safe. So you did all the things. Maybe you wiped down your groceries. I wiped down our mail. I was really hardcore. It was hard. And the outside world, if you were not an essential worker out there in it, if you were inside, the outside world looked lonely and desolate. And you saw these pictures, these remarkable pictures of wolves running down the street in Manhattan, or birds making nests in traffic lights. And when you did have to go somewhere, you kind of forgot how to do that. Did anybody do this, where you get behind your car and you're going, how do I do that? And I realized that for me, I was becoming scared of seeing people. I mean, just seeing anyone. Encountering another person walking in the street or the grocery store. This brought on something that I don't think most of us have experienced on this kind of scale in our lives, being afraid of other human beings as carriers of the virus, neighbors, children. I would jump when I'd see another person. It was involuntary. Now, you add in the refuseniks, the people who were not willing to do what they were asked to do to make themselves and others safe. And in addition to this fear came some anger as well. As a society, we have developed a collective case, I think, of what is called Pistanthrophobia. That's a real phobia, which is a fear of trust. And at the same time we were feeling this, we also knew that, and we still know today, how much we need other people, even though other people being around other people was a problem. We needed other people, and we need other human beings to stay alive. And we couldn't be together in person, including at church. There's no holiness clause protecting people from germs at church. Where 2 or 3 are gathered, there the virus shall be also. And it was hard. In that early phase, I caught a respiratory infection called RSV. RSV usually only comes to babies who haven't developed immunity to it yet, but if you're immune compromised, you can get it too. And I need to tell you, I'm fine now. Let me just say that. I'm fine now. But at that point, in lung transplant world, when you get an infection like that, they do not play. I went down for 3 days of 12-hour ghastly treatments of inhaling this noxious stuff. And I went to Barnes Jewish Hospital. If you've been there, you know that it's enormous. It's usually crowded, and just to park in the garage, you are driving around and around and around and around, and you get up to the top where the air is thin, and maybe there's 2 places left. At this time, it was like a desert. There was nobody. I took pictures. And as I made my way to the treatment center, I remember deciding to make an active decision to trust every single person I encountered. I had to trust the receptionists, the doctors, people with, who are wearing a uniform that is usually itself a cue to our system that you are safe. I had to make an active decision to trust them. I had to act trusting before I felt trusting. And so now we're in the process. 2 years later, we are starting to come out of this, Lord willing. But it's important to remember that not everybody is in the same place coming out of it. I understand that it is really hard to be a parent of very young children right now. Feels like the entire rest of the world is doing the happy dance with the vaccine, and it doesn't apply to you. It's not quite the same for immune-compromised people like me, although I know we have a lot more tools to work with than we did before. And one really important thing as we are starting to emerge is to regain the sense of trust. This has been a trauma that we are all coming through, and one of the results of trauma, as we know, is a diminishment of trust in people. Dr. Ellen Hendrickson, a psychologist at Boston University, recommends certain things that you can do to repair trust. And the first thing that she recommends is to stay in one place. Now, I know how unappealing that might sound after months of being in one place, but this, I think she means something else, to let yourself be rooted in a place. Do not think that it's going to be better in some other place. Be deliberately rooted. And she also recommends getting into a routine, doing kind of one activity at least regularly every week, seeing the same faces from week to week, like going to church. Far be it for me to tell you to come to church every week, except I just did. I never really understood why churches felt like they had to rain down all of this sense of guilt and shame and sin, and you're going to go to hell if you don't, when all they really had to do was to tell the truth, which is that it's a lot more fun if you come every week. When people get to know you and you get to know them. When it's you taking the carload of donated diapers for the diaper drive, when it's you marching with your peeps in the pride parade, resplendent in your rainbow finery. When people care about your wife's surgery and even brought you a meal, when you're around regularly and you get the jokes, it's more fun. And it can help you to build trust. It doesn't say that you have to do this, that it happens all at once, bit by bit. She recommends putting yourself out there a little bit at a time, seeing what you get back. And that takes time. Staying in one place and coming there regularly also means accepting the flaws of the place, expecting flaws to be in that place, and the people there. And it is ever so true in a church. We have made some mistakes during the pandemic. We made mistakes before the pandemic. And some things that we've done, maybe they weren't mistakes, or maybe it was hard to know, but maybe they were just disappointing, just hard. When I was first in ministry, and I started to hold classes for people who were new at the church. People would tell a little bit about their background. They'd say what churches they belonged to before, if they did. And sometimes they would talk about the church or the faith community they had left and express some genuine hurt. People would say, we were very active, and I got sick for a month, and I didn't show up, and no one called me. Nobody noticed. That breaks a minister's heart to hear that. And I know that we work hard at Eliot Chapel to not let that happen. But at our church and every church I've ever served, I knew that we would probably do the same thing, or things that were disappointing for people. hard as we tried. We just would. Many years ago, the UUA did a study about membership, or creating a sense of belonging for people in church communities. And the surprising thing was, there was one surprising part of it. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised to hear things like, join a group or come regularly, et cetera, but the surprising thing that some people said was that they felt they truly belonged, they truly became a part of the church community, that it was theirs, when they were disappointed and made a decision to stay anyway. They found that they relaxed a little bit more, that they were not holding their breath, hoping that it would never be disappointing for them, that things would never change. At the first wedding that I performed, I remember it was an outdoor country wedding. It was this talented woman playing the fiddle to bring the bride and groom in and out. And to keep everybody calm, and by everybody I mean me, I said, "It's good luck to have a mistake in your wedding." I made that up. I did. And the wedding was beautiful and perfect. They usually are. Before I finished saying my pronouncement of the couple, the fiddler came in much too early. And I remember the bride turning to her brand new husband and saying, "We got a mistake. It's good luck." Good things can happen, I think, when you have that sort of attitude. Just saying. Some of us might not be ready to be back in person fully, and that's okay. Parts of our community, actually, may or never be in this physical space. They've joined us online. They're part of us, and that's okay. Our job is to include everyone and to create ways for everyone to be part of this new us that's forming. That's why we've invested in live streaming, because we don't want you to miss a thing. Now, it may be, as it comes, and we know that there's going to be another wave of the virus that comes, because they do. It may be that I will be more at risk, or some of us will be more at risk than other people here, and that is okay too. We will find a way to do this. It's important to renew our faith. It's important to trust one another. To that end, your board of trustees, is hosting some small group conversations after each of our services today. And we were planning this. I was meeting with 2 board members to talk about it, and one of them said something that caught my attention. She said, when we do this, people will start to remember how it feels to be together. People will remember how it feels to be together because we've forgotten. And in these groups, we might be talking about what kind of music you'd like the choir to sing, or what kind of curriculum you would like to see for our children. And that's all very helpful. It's helpful for our staff as we contemplate planning and everything. But if we were just looking for information, we could have sent out a survey. We could have put out a suggestion box. The other thing about this little project of coming together and talking is to start to remember how it feels to be together again, and to practice that, and to start to hope together about the future. We need one another. These past few years have been something of a test, I think. It's felt like a test in our faith in human beings, especially now with the invasion of Ukraine. And I've heard people asking themselves, what can I do? My colleague, the Reverend David Miller, writes, "I think I haven't had the wherewithal to form any coherent thoughts about world events. I'm not an expert. I'm just another bewildered, sad, broken human wondering how we will ever pull it together as humans. I watch the same news as everyone else." He said, "I have my spiraling thoughts that I try to push out of my head. And I also see the incredible stories of survival, of desire, of a passion for freedom that breaks through the endless noise, assaulting our senses day after day. What can I do, he says, what can we do? Can we hold on to the faith that good news is coming? Can we find our way through the fog to the path that will bring us to rays, to warm light that will help us to hope? Through the struggle of finding our footing these days, I have sensed and seen such a deep need for connection that speaks to me of something greater than I have ever known. It isn't quite there yet. It is forming. It is looking for an opening. But it is there. The need, the desire, the hope for love, connection, and siblinghood. It will not survive without help. It will not survive without help, and I think that our job is to help it. That's what I have come to as I sit and watch with the pain. I find myself needing to help it as much as I possibly can. May we do the same in this beloved community as we move forward together. Amen. Please join me in singing our last hymn. What is it? Here we have gathered. And rise as you're willing and able. Now may the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Amen. Please be seated. Go in peace.